We have breaking news from the NHL. The New York Rangers have found their new head coach. We'll discuss the hire and what it could mean for the club coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some pretty significant news this morning from the NHL. Not really shocking news by any means, because it was looking and trending this way over the past few days. But the New York Rangers have hired their next head coach, and it's indeed former Penguins bench boss Mike Sullivan. Of course, Sullivan has quite the resume. Obviously almost close to a decade with the Penguins, including back-to-back Stanley Cups on his resume. Of course, was a longtime player, assistant coach prior to that. He's certainly been in the game a very long time. And we knew that Chris Drury, the manager for the New York Rangers, had Sullivan's name at the very top of his list. And as soon as he became available, it was no secret he was going to pounce on that. Now, of course, other teams wanted to talk to Sullivan as well. So he certainly had some competition. And I think many thought it was pretty much down to, I know I've heard a lot of teams saying, my team needs to look at this. Sullivan's available. We need to seriously consider that. I was like, I really don't think any team had a chance outside of maybe the Bruins. Of course, Sullivan had different ties and connections and history with the Bruins and the Rangers, both having, obviously between working with the organization and, being from the Boston area. Charlie McAvoy's the son-in-law. So, you kind of put it all together. I didn't know if he'd want to coach the Bruins. I didn't know if him and McAvoy would want to keep things separate or what, or if the Bruins really want Sullivan. I mean, at the end of the day, he's, like I said, a pretty well successful coach. But of course, he worked with Drury as well with Team USA, and we knew that there's that connection, of course, and he's quite familiar with the organization from his past as well. So certainly an interesting hire, not shocking at all. Great resume, but I guess the big thing for me is I really wonder, and this is no disrespect to Sullivan, but how much of an impact is this going to make? Because I think a large part of what kind of fractured the Rangers last season was, and I know normally what the front office is doing doesn't really impact the players, and it's not usually something that they really kind of get too much involved in, but they did in the last year. A lot of players were very unhappy with a lot of the noise that was created and how things were handled between Barclay Goodrow and how they forced him out. Then they forced out Jacob Trouba, the captain. And it was publicly out there that Trouba and Chris Kreider was made available for trade. It's widely expected Kreider could be on the move. I mean, I know Sullivan likes Kreider. He's obviously gave him every opportunity at the Four Nation tournament. I don't know if the Sullivan hire will impact anything, but I mean, I know at the end of the year, you could pretty much tell the way things are being treated, even by the players, that it kind of felt like the end for Kreider. So we'll have to see. There's been some speculation as well about John Tortorella joining the Rangers. There's, depending on who you talk to and what sources are out there, some are convinced that he may join the Rangers, and obviously not as head coach, but either as an assistant to Sullivan or in some kind of a different capacity. Some say there's nothing to it, and the rumor's not true, and some are convinced that they have good enough sources that at the very least it was seriously considered and could still maybe happen. So we'll have to wait and see on Tortorella. But for right now, Sullivan's the new head coach, and like I said, without making some changes to this roster and without kind of repairing the relationship, it seems, with the connection to the players to the front office, I wonder how much of a step they can take. Because I think some players quit. I think some players lost their desire to give it everything they had every night, and they need to refine that for sure. I mean, lots of speculation about Zibanejad. He's got full control with his contract, but will he be back? So it's another big piece there as well. So be interested to see what Mike Sullivan inherits as a roster when we get to the fall, and we'll see how much of an impact he can have. A lot of teams often do get what they call that new coach bump, and obviously with a fresh start with a new coach, new systems, new way of doing things, change the lineups, change this and that, and we'll see. The Rangers, I think, for their sake, if you look at the Metro Division right now, you look at the three teams that made it between the Caps, Canes, Devils, they can. I don't think there's a big enough gap that they can't leap over some teams here. You got like the Flyers, the Penguins, the Blue Jackets. There's not. it doesn't seem insurmountable that they can't get up at least into that 3-4 range again, right? Maybe higher. You never know. We'll have to see how the Canes and Caps look next year. But I think they're in a position where they could kind of emulate the Capitals last year, maybe do a quick retool and suddenly get back in that mix. It certainly seems like it's possible, but there's also a very strong Atlantic division as well, which, like I said, they got 5 teams in this year, and that could be a trend moving forward. We'll have to see how things go, but they get the work cut out for them, and this is the big first step. So let me know your thoughts on Sullivan hired as the new head coach, and we'll discuss in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.